Gotta say, Kathy Bates looks great. But be good, that's some message. I mean, do you mean do what Renee Good did? Well, would you do what she did, Mark? Hang around all day and stalk law enforcement? And then when they tried to stop you from driving away, would you just floor it? Of course you wouldn't. You don't want to die. You got a great life. But I get it. The pin is the perfect virtue signal. Do as I say, not as I do. And that's the real issue here. This disconnect between private beliefs and public proclamations. It's about the things that elite libs would never risk, that they happily demand from others. They love their causes so much, they'll sacrifice everything you have. It's why they dangerously idealize the actions of Renee Good, who was so emboldened by training and propaganda that she assumed she was impervious to the law, and sadly learned that what works on social media doesn't work in real life on the street. This disconnect cuts across all of their fake crusades. Take trans. White liberal chicks know that kids can't make that call about their bodies, but they don't say that in public. They also wouldn't let a stranger into their homes, but they're fine with open borders. If a cop pulls them over for a busted taillight, they don't just speed off, but then they openly encourage gullible activists to do otherwise. So here's the test that endues all liberal performative lies. What kind of advice would you give a relative planning to do something stupid, like harass and impede law enforcement? Would you say, go for it? Or would you say, that's a terrible idea? You would say the latter because you care about them and you love them. So be good captures the hypocrisy of the elite virtue signal. They egg you on to do something that they'd never do because they really don't care about you. All these videos of women holding up phones, screaming at ICE, where are their loved ones or their friends telling them to knock it off? Renee Good didn't have anyone offering sound advice, just activist groups and celebs egging her on. You know, it's funny, you don't see a lot of black protesters at these things. You also don't see them at Hamas rallies or Tran rallies either. It's almost like the promiscuity of white female protesters regarding their causes tells you it's not about the cause at all. It's about the content, filming and posting it as a form of emotional enrichment. So here's the question to end all phony liberal compassion. Would your politics require you to suspend the advice that you'd give to your own family? If the answer is yes, then you're an uncaring douchebag. Which, as far as we know, Ruffalo might be. He's not sheltering migrants in his Los Angeles mansion, his 50-acre farm, or one of his Manhattan apartments. Then again, the people wearing the pins are actors, and they literally recite made-up crap for a paycheck. It's the only way they can claim the high ground about climate change, yet live in beachfront mansions. And it's why the Democrat Party in Hollywood are so tight. They both do the same thing for a living. They lie. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He's the worst thing to come out of Alaska since Jewel's teeth. Actor, writer, comedian Jamie Lissow. Whoever thinks life is short has never listened to his podcast. Host of Your Welcome podcast, Michael Malice. She went from Toad the Wet Sprocket to rippin' Jasmine Crockett. Host of Kennedy Saves the World podcast, Kennedy. And finally, he has a walk-in belly button. Former NWA World Champion and host of the Planet Tyrant podcast, Tyrus. Jamie, I can see you making decisions personally for yourself and telling people to do it differently publicly because it's not working out for you.
That's very true.
Well, that's just like... Wow, you tired of me?
You need to come to the understanding, Greg, that they love this man. You can't tease him anymore. He's one of their own.
You really hit some of my past, though, when you talked about the hypocrisy. Because I remember my ex-wife was very against illegal immigration, but she did let a stranger into our house.
Oh, my God.
Could I just take a minute and just on the pins?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Better than out the pins.
Oh my God, so much less painful. These pins, by the way, if you saw a little bit of the Golden Globes, it looked like a very expensive set. Like they spent a lot of money on, outfits and set. But I think before they made the pins, they were running out of money. Those are very small pins. Yeah. I looked up how much they cost, and the pin just smaller than that one is no pin. And then who did they hire to write these pins? Like a caveman? Like ice out. Be good. Buy an extra word, you sons of bitches. We don't know what you're talking about. And the message is too vague. Like ice out. I thought they wanted us to give somebody the cold shoulder. Do you ever get like this? I don't like the Ruffalo thing. I do not like when someone has such insane political views that it changes the way I watch them.
Yes, I hate that.
Something. And like this thing with Ruffalo, I do with it. It reminds me of remember when Pee Wee Herman did that thing in the movie theater? I remember that. Like after that, when I would watch Pee Wee's Playhouse, it was so much better.
Yes.
And I can't even watch Wanda Sykes and stuff because she's not in anything.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Nice. It is true. When I found out that Robert Blake killed his wife, I was like, now I really like Beretta.
Allegedly.
What?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Michael, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So what do you, we haven't talked about any of this. What do you make, I'm struck by the conversations that you have with people privately about things like in the green room, and then publicly they say something completely different, like, far be it from me to tell you the right thing to do.
Sure.
Like
this phony.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's amazing that we all remember how people were taking the streets complaining that the cops were killing unarmed black men, but now they're killing unarmed white women, and they still can't win with these people.
Yes, yes.
We finally conquered racism with police brutality. I also think, I'm going to quote Scott Adams, who passed today.
Yes.
One of his most famous quotes is, "We are seeing two movies on one screen." Mm-hmm. So it's kind of insane how everyone is seeing the same exact footage and are perceiving two entirely different incidents depending on their perception of ICE. Either you see her trying to hit him and he's getting out of the way and scared for his life, or she's an innocent victim trying to flee and he murdered her in cold blood. And you can't convince, it's like that dress that was blue and gold or white, whatever.
Yeah.
You can't convince the other people that you're seeing something else in good faith. We're kind of degenerating in our ability to have conversation as a country, and I don't know where it goes from here.
I agree with you, and we're going to talk about Scott Adams in the B block, because the two movies on one screen is an amazing kind of framework of how everything happens in politics these days. Kennedy, what say you about this public versus personal proclamation? Like you would tell your kids, I think that, Kennedy, you would tell your kids the same advice that you would say on the 5.
Absolutely, because people aren't being honest with themselves, and they're certainly not being honest with their fans. And, Mark Ruffalo used to be an exciting actor, and, he was in some really big Marvel movies and stuff like that. But you're absolutely right. You can no longer divorce his political views from some of his past performances. And his political views are so off-putting. I mean, they're really only attractive to such a narrow group of people, whereas critical thinking and learning how to assess a situation should be attractive to everybody. And that is something that has completely gone out of fashion. My girls were raised in Los Angeles for the first few years of their lives, and we have been in New York for 11 years. And when you raise kids in New York, you have to teach them how to read a room, looking at other people. When is a situation going to devolve into something chaotic and violent? And that's when you tell them you have to extricate yourself from that situation. The most valuable defense tool you have is getting out of there. But Mark Ruffalo would never say anything like that. And as you pointed out on the 5 today, we didn't see Natasha Lyonne. We didn't see Wanda Sykes. We haven't seen Mark Ruffalo in Portland or Minneapolis at ICE facilities or, on walkie-talkies, in chat groups telling people where to go, what weapons ICE has, what vehicles they're driving, what they're wearing today, because that is the most dangerous place to be right now.
Yeah.
And they value their lives and they value their paycheck more than they value the virtues that they signal to other people, which unfortunately for the unwell people who love them, very small pool, it can be deadly.
Yeah, and you make a point about the Ruffalo tires and other, let's say, veteran protesters. Then shouldn't they do the opposite? They have the responsibility of being around to tell these young protesters that you are not helping a cause by making people hate you.
Well, the difference is of what we're seeing is that there's two kinds of people that we've kind of degressed down to two. We have the watchers and the doers. People who do things, they go outside, they live life, they have experiences, they go out for a job interview, they talk to people, they go back and forth. Then there's the watchers, who this entire basis of everything is what they see on social media and they make their little attacks.
Yeah.
It's a safe place and you say things. And especially if you have a wonderful platform, especially if you can go to the Golden Globes dressed like you're auditioning for the Love Boat and nobody cares.
Yeah.
And here's the best part, because he's a watcher, he's never going to be a doer because it's so safe and so and virtuous and everyone's talking about. The interviewer didn't even want to interview him.
Yeah.
He bum rushed them.
He ran over.
They're like, oh, hey, it's Beta Hulk. Because let's be honest, this monster ruined the Hulk.
Yeah.
When he turns into the Hulk questions things and has a man bun. It's like, it's not the same thing anymore. But he went in there and he had to get his point across. And one of the things he was trying to remember, that's why he wouldn't let go of the bat. It was so small we couldn't even be good or you have a stain on your thing. But his whole thing was he had to get his virtue out. He's done his part.
Yes.
The sad part is somebody who's sitting at home watching him is like, I'm going to go out and do it now.
Yeah.
And that's what they push. Like, it's a coward's thing to sit there and tell everyone. They're so virtuous. What was it last year? It was singing gay, gay, gay.
Yeah.
They're always doing some train wreck, dumb but you never, ever see their hands are never dirty. There's never dirt on their fingernails. And they're never willing to be in the front. Did he bring the woman's wife with him to the show?
Yeah.
Did he, you know what I'm saying? If it was so-called murder, is he out and is he doing stuff? No, these don't do anything but point and click and talk. And if you come at him and call him names, you're misogynistic. So.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.